The moment you finally walk away is the moment they lose the one thing they were quietly feeding on the entire time, and that is not your love, it is your attention. It is your emotional reactions. It is your willingness to stay confused. You already felt something was off. You tried to explain it to yourself. Maybe they were just stressed. Maybe you misunderstood. Maybe you were being too sensitive. But deep down, there was this constant tension, this feeling that no matter how much you gave, it was never quite enough. And at the same time, somehow, you were always the problem. You were the one overreacting. You were the one who needed to fix things. You were the one who had to try harder. And that loop kept you stuck. Because every time you got close to clarity, they pulled you back into confusion. So here is the truth most people do not see until much later. When you walk away from a narcissist, you are not just leaving a person, you are breaking a system designed to keep you emotionally hooked. And once that system breaks, something very specific starts to happen to them. Not immediately, not in the dramatic way you might expect, but slowly, and then all at once. At first, they do not believe it. They assume you will come back, because you always did before. Every argument, every silent treatment, every moment where you said, "I'm done," you are not done, and they knew it. So when you finally leave for real, they treat it like another cycle. They wait, they stay quiet, or they send something small, a message that looks harmless, just enough to reopen the door. If you respond, the system restarts. If you do not, something shifts. This is the first crack, because now they are dealing with something they cannot control, and control is everything to them. Not love, not connection. Control. When they cannot control your emotions anymore, they start to feel unstable, and this is where most people miss narcissists. They do not feel pain the way you do, but they do feel a loss of supply, and that loss creates pressure. They need attention like oxygen, and when your attention disappears, they start looking for it somewhere else. Sometimes immediately, sometimes they already had someone lined up. And this part can hurt the most, because it looks like they moved on so easily, like you meant nothing, like everything you shared was replaceable. But what you're seeing is not healing. It is a replacement. It is distraction. It is survival. They are not processing the loss. They are avoiding it. Because facing it would mean facing themselves, and that is the one thing they will do anything to avoid. But here is the part no one talks about. Even when they find someone new, the system does not fully reset. Because you broke the pattern, you disrupted the control, and that leaves a mark. So they start testing the new person the same way they tested you, pushing boundaries, creating confusion, withholding attention, and if that new person responds the same way you used to, the cycle continues. But if that person resists, the cracks grow faster, because now it is not just you who walked away. It becomes a pattern they cannot ignore. And this is where things start to unravel internally. They may not show it, they may look confident, they may look happy, but underneath that, there is instability. Because their identity depends on control and validation, and when that becomes unreliable, they feel it. Even if they never admit it, and this is where most people make the biggest mistake. They go back, not physically, but emotionally. They check their social media. They ask mutual friends. They try to understand if the narcissist misses them, if they regret it, if they are suffering, and in doing that, they reconnect to the system, because now your attention is back on them. Even if they are not talking to you, you are still feeding the connection, and that keeps you stuck. The real shift happens when you stop trying to measure their reaction, because what happens to them is not where your power is. Your power is in what happens to you when you leave. At first, it feels uncomfortable, even painful, because you are breaking a habit, not just of them, but of how you responded to them. You were used to explaining yourself, defending yourself, trying to be understood, trying to fix things, and now there is silence, and that silence can feel like loss, but it is actually space. Space for clarity. Space for your nervous system to calm down. Space to see things without distortion. And as that clarity grows, something else happens. You start to see the pattern for what it really was. Not love, not misunderstanding, but control wrapped in emotional inconsistency. You see how they created highs and lows, how they pulled you in and pushed you away, how they made you work for basic respect. And once you see it clearly, something shifts inside you. You stop wanting closure from them because you understand they were never going to give it, not because you were not worth it, but because they are not capable of it. And that realization is power, because now you are no longer waiting, you are no longer hoping, you are no longer trying to make sense of something that was designed to confuse you. And this is the point where the dynamic fully breaks, because even if they come back, and many do, it no longer has the same effect. They might send a message, they might act like nothing happened, they might even apologize in a way that sounds convincing. But you hear it differently now. You see the pattern behind the words, and you do not feel the same pull. That is when they truly lose you, not when you walked away, but when you stopped being emotionally available to the cycle. And for them, that is the real loss, because they cannot access you anymore. Not your attention, not your reactions, not your energy. And without that, the connection has no function, so they move on, or at least it looks that way. But what they are really doing is repeating the same pattern with someone else, because they did not change, they just changed the person. And here is the final truth that brings everything together. You walking away did not destroy them. It revealed them. It exposed the structure they were operating from. And more importantly, it freed you from it. You were never weak for staying. You were responding to a system designed to keep you engaged, but you become powerful the moment you step out of it. Not by fighting, not by proving anything, but by becoming unavailable to what was draining you. That is the shift. That is the win. And once you feel that clarity, you do not want to go back, because you finally understand something most people never fully grasp. Peace is not found in getting them to change. It is found in no longer needing them to.